Have the inner cortex, outer, no, they're wrong. Outer cortex, inner medulla. Yeah? I was saying and you were nodding, you were giving me, oh yes, oh yes. No, I was trying to mislead you. Inner medulla, outer cortex. This is the ovarian medulla. Look. And this is ovarian cortex. Only thing is this, ovarian medulla is loose. Inner cortex, outer cortex, ovarian cortex is tense. Okay? There is a limiting epithelium. It's called germinal epithelium. Is squamous to low cuboidal, simple epithelium, but the germinal epithelium is a misnomer. What is the meaning of misnomer?
It's named incorrectly?
Incorrect name, thank you. But why the name is retained? Is the name by default because nobody cared to correct it. Okay? So when it was first described, it was described as germinal epithelium. I mean, if you read germinal epithelium, you expect that thing to germinate or it gives rise to something sprouts or something like that. No, it didn't happen that way. So the name is by default, but anyway, outer epithelium is called germinal epithelium. And you will see ovarian follicles. Oh, can I erase all this? You should have taken photograph all those.
Yep.
Okay?
Yes, sir.
I have to destroy my own creation, you know. Yeah, as if I'm killing my own baby. No, I'm just kidding.
I hope not.
Yeah, I appreciate, you know.
Well, now it's on YouTube.
What?
Now it's on YouTube.
Okay.
There you go.
Thank you. So the term ovarian follicle, and this is also will be good for your third lecture exam, okay? Ovarian follicle. Ovarian follicle is a structure made of several cells, okay? There are three kinds: primordial, primary, and secondary. The primordial follicle is a structure that is here. Look, these are primordial follicles. Each primordial follicle has, so here, primordial follicle equals, this is a cell primary oocyte plus follicular cells. So let me show you here. I will show you the details under the microscope. Primary follicles will develop into a primordial follicle will develop into primary follicle. This is early primary follicle, this is late primary follicle. This is an early secondary follicle. This is a late secondary or mature secondary follicle. This is a ruptured follicle, and at the place of the ruptured follicle here, this structure develops into an endocrine structure called corpus luteum. This is whole thing is corpus luteum. And because of the rupture, some blood spots, you can see some blood spots, and that's why the ruptured follicle is called corpus hemorrhagicum. And this is the potential gamete, primary oocyte. This primary oocyte ultimately will become secondary oocyte here in the mature secondary follicle, and this will be ovulated by a process called ovulation, discharge of secondary oocyte here.
So the whole thing isn't considered ovulation. The only thing that's considered ovulation is when the cell discharges?
When the cell is discharged, that is ovulation. This is going through maturation. The ovarian follicles undergoing maturation. In order to ovulate, the ultimate purpose is ovulation. Ultimate purpose of the ovary is to provide a female sex cell, a female gamete. Okay? Now, when the female gamete is provided, this undergoes fertilization. This is fertilized by a sperm cell to form a zygote. We'll go to that in reproductive system. But here, these cells are called granulosa cells. I'll come to that. They rapidly divide and fill in this space and form corpus luteum, hormone-producing structure. It mainly secretes, primary function is to secrete progesterone, because progesterone maintains the pregnancy. It is that hormone, very important hormone. Now, when placenta forms completely, the hormone secretion function by the corpus luteum is taken over by the placenta. Okay? Because placenta secretes progesterone later on to maintain the pregnancy. But corpus luteum degenerates. It is a degenerating corpus luteum. Ultimately, and this degenerating corpus luteum ceases to produce hormones. And ultimate degeneration is the formation of a white body called corpus albicans. Here is the end of the life of ovarian follicles. So ovarian follicle, starting from primordial to primary to secondary, and then it will become corpus luteum, corpus degenerating corpus luteum, and corpus albicans. Finish. Okay?
So it's the beginning cycle and then end cycle.
What is that?
Beginning
Beginning of the cycle is
end
this.
cycle.
This is the end cycle. And you will learn that ovarian cycle, uterine cycle, all this in reproductive system. Okay. Now, let us look at the primordial follicle. How does it look like? Let me have side by side these two. There you go. Fantastic. So what did I tell you? Primordial follicle has a potential female gamete called primary oocyte. You get that? This is primary oocyte. That is surrounded by, what's that? Follicular cells. These are the follicular cells. Flat. Squamous. These are squamous cells. And to protect this, there are stromal cells. You can see the stromal cells. Collagen fibers. Together they form structure called theca folliculi. These stromal cells and collagen fibers, they will form what is called theca folliculi. Now this stage is very, very transient. It doesn't last long. Why? Because the follicular cells divide repeatedly. Or through repeated mitosis, they increase the number, and when these cells become cuboidal, multi-layered, these cells are called granulosa cells, and these cells start secreting estrogens, and these cells nourish the primary oocyte. Look. It doesn't mean that the primary oocyte becomes small. These two, the size increases, but that increase is not apparent here, but definitely it increases. Now, you can see there is a thick region here called zona pellucida. You don't have to learn that. Forget about zona pellucida. Just learn that this is primary follicle, like primary follicle formula equals primary oocyte plus granulosa cells. Do you get that? These are granulosa cells. Primordial follicle, primary oocyte plus follicular cells. Okay? But these cells are possessed cells, I'm just kidding. I'm trying to dramatize. They divide, they divide frantically. Divide and divide. They sing a song like multiplication is the name of the game. Yeah? And each generation plays the same. I'm just kidding. And when they divide, spaces appear between cells, and those spaces, they coalesce to form a larger space, and that space is called antrum. There you go. Next. There you go. Antrum, that is filled with fluid, called follicular fluid. This is still primary oocyte, and if you look at the chromosome number, it's diploid. This primary oocyte, if it was derived from human, it would have 46 chromosomes. Because this is also undergoing a division called meiosis. Have you heard of meiosis?
Yeah.
Reduction cell division. The meiosis is completed when the follicles, secondary follicle, this is secondary follicle undergoes complete maturation. So what are the structures you need to know? Here, this may be in bonus question, theca folliculi. Theca folliculi has two regions, theca externa, theca interna, but forget about that. Look at the granulosa cells, antrum. Here is the primary oocyte. So early, this is early. Look at that, I have written. Oh, come on. Early secondary follicle equals primary oocyte plus granulosa cells plus antrum. Antrum is missing here. Now look how antrum is large, because the space increases as the cells divide rapidly. Of course, these cells become smaller in size. What do? They secrete estrogens. And you can see that few layers of cells surround this female gamete. This female gamete now is secondary oocyte. You have to make a correction in your book. If it is a Graafian follicle, this has to be secondary. So this is secondary oocyte. N Okay? Meaning this is haploid. It has completed the second division of meiosis. Now it may rupture any moment. It is ready to rumble, ready to rupture. Okay? So, mature Graafian follicle equals secondary oocyte plus granulosa cells plus antrum. Antrum is very large, okay, containing follicular fluid. All right? Follicles. These are primary follicle, secondary follicle. This thing is enlarged here, secondary follicle here. This is the antrum. This is the gamete. And this is the surrounding is called corona radiata. I forgot to mention that. This is called corona radiata. What is the meaning of corona? Crown, radiating crown. It's not like, which is a long neck and a piece of lemon or lime is stuck inside. Not that corona. Just, Christopher, you know what I meant, huh?
Yes.
Wow.
The beer, yes.
But I'm a teetotaler, I don't know anything. Okay. Another structure is uterus. And here we go. This is histology of uterus. The outermost layer is called perimetrium. Perimetrium is not shown here. It's removed. Okay? Myometrium that forms bulk of the uterus. And from here, endometrium. Endometrium has two layers. The layer that is free surface called stratum functionalis and stratum bizaris. So the functional layer, stratum functionalis, this is sloughed off during menstrual period, sloughed off, and then new functional layer forms on the top of from the stratum bizaris with the action of several hormones, especially estrogens and then progesterone. You will learn about that in the lecture, the materials for your third lecture exam very soon. Yes.
So there's something missing from that thing? You have a question mark at the bottom.
My question mark at the bottom because there is an error. This is 40 times magnification, here again 40 times. It
Oh.
has to be more.
Yeah.
Do you get that? That's why I,
Okay.
yeah?